April 6, 2023 is going to go down as the worst day of Pokemon Go. We all knew this was coming. There were a few leaks a while back that indicated remote raids was on the verge of getting nerfed. But holy cow, Niantic went much further than I thought they would. How's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Count, and today's video is going to be a bit more raw, because I do think what I'm going to be talking about is going to be a major blow to the entire Pokemon Go community. No intro, no fancy graphics, no music. Today I'm going to be facing you in order to share my thoughts on this absolutely bogus thing that's coming. So what is Niantic doing that has gotten the entire Pokemon Go community in an uproar? Well, starting next week on April 6, 2023, a bunch of major nerfs will be coming to remote raids. The price of remote raids will be increased. Individually, remote raid passes will go for 195 Pokecoins, which is nearly double what it was before. For the bundle of 3 remote raid passes, they will go for 525 Pokecoins. There is also going to be a hard cap of how many remote raids you can do per day. Currently, you can do an unlimited amount of remote raids, but starting April 6th, you will only be allowed 5 remote raids per day. So yeah, these are all the negative changes that are going to be coming to the remote raiding system. However, Niantic is going to offset these with a handful of positive changes. Starting on April 6th, you will now potentially get a free remote raid pass with your research breakthrough rewards. I say potentially because it is not a guarantee. So even though they are practically doubling the cost of remote raid passes, they are at least giving them out for free, albeit at a ridiculously low rate of possibly 1 per week. If you are unlucky, there is a chance that you could go several weeks without getting this free remote raid pass. Another slightly positive change is that they are going to boost the Candy XL you will get from in-person raids. So if you switch from remote raiding to in-person raiding, they will at least give you a little bit more for doing so. Overall, I cannot say that I am all too happy about this. I made a video a few weeks back talking about how terrible it would be if Niantic were to put a hard daily cap on remote raids. I did not expect them to go further past that, and they did. Remote raiding is pretty much an integral part of the Pokemon Go experience right now. For Niantic to completely ruin this aspect of the game, they are essentially destroying the user experience for rural players, immobile players, players who want to play with their friends who live far away, and hardcore players who are willing to spend more to go the extra mile. You also have to take into consideration that these changes will affect the PvP community as well. By vastly limiting the amount of remote raids players can do, you are preventing them from obtaining perfect IV legendaries, which are absolutely essential for the Master League. You will also lower the XL Candy intake for meta-relevant legendaries, so it will be more tedious for the average battler to have a Master League ready team. In the pursuit of collecting more location data from their users, which, mind you, is going to be way more valuable to them than any amount of in-app purchases from the player base, they run the risk of losing the very thing they need in order to get that location data: users. There is a very high possibility that an indescribably large number of Pokemon Go players will stop playing the game after these changes take effect. I hope Niantic is fully aware of this, because they could have inadvertently destroyed the very thing they wanted to cultivate. So, what are my thoughts regarding all of this? Well, it is exactly how you would expect. I'm pretty upset about it, but I also understand why this is happening. Ultimately, Pokemon Go became a completely different game after remote raiding was first introduced. Raiding has always been an important aspect of the user experience, and after Niantic introduced remote raiding, there has been a lot less community-based play. I am totally aware that this is the core philosophy of Pokemon Go. They don't want you to play from home. The whole purpose of this game was to play with other players at in-person locations around the world. If Niantic intended people to play the game the way most players are playing it, well, they wouldn't have made Pokemon Go. My point is, there is a reason why they are doing this. They aren't trying to be malicious. It obviously wouldn't make sense for them to do this for the sake of making us feel better. The reality is, Niantic doesn't care about our in-app purchases. They don't care if we are happy with the game. Heck, they don't care if we play the game hardcore. They just want us to be at places in person with the app open. They want our location data. But regardless if there is a valid reason for doing this, it still doesn't make it okay. someone is going to get left behind. This change is inevitably going to affect rural players and disabled players the most. In Niantic's efforts to align the game towards their own philosophies, they are removing a lot of accessibility. Remote raiding is the only way a lot of players are able to raid, so unfortunately, those players will see a drastic decline in gameplay. What really bothers me is that I, along with several other members of the Pokemon GO community, have repeatedly said that the better path forward would be to make in-person raiding more worthwhile, rather than taking away what has already been established. Rather than doing that, Niantic opted to go for the worst case scenario. The game is going to be in a terrible state from now on. Going back to how things were before the pandemic, it's not going to be good for Pokemon GO. What's funny is that Niantic stated these decisions were for the longevity of Pokemon GO, yet they neglected to realize the game was going far downhill before remote raids were introduced. If anything, it was actually remote raiding that secured longevity for this game. So this notion is completely backwards in my opinion. So yeah, it goes without saying that I am completely disappointed by this. I tend to do most of my raiding in person, but I rely on a lot of help from remote raiders. If people are not going to join remotely simply because of how expensive it can be along with the new limitations, well, this means my in-person raiding experience is also drastically hindered. There is only one solution that I can think of with these remote raiding nerfs, and that is Niantic Campfire. I think now more than ever, they need to roll this out worldwide ASAP. If they can get more people on board with this app, then you can see more cooperation and more organization between players for in-person raids. That is going to offset a lot of the problems that are going to arise when it comes to raiding. Ultimately, we just have to wait and see what kind of effects this nerf is going to do to the game. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Since this is a hot topic of discussion, I would love to know your thoughts down below. Are you unhappy about these upcoming changes? Let me know why or why not down below in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.